peace. Now you're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you just freaked out. Get ready for defeat. Now I'm gonna make you bleed out. Listen on repeat now and weed out all the weak now. Get up.
Oh, okay, here we go. What the fuck? Who decided to text me? Myself. Okay. Let's do some little sherry shares. Good morning, good morning. If you could help me share, that'd be very much appreciated. If you'll excuse me, I'm just waking up now, folks. It's a day. Don't know what to tell you. Well, the first thing I saw when I woke up was another day of, oh, good morning, Mama Cool. Was another day of the morning bump going wild. Yesterday was fucking really wild. Apparently, folks aren't allowed to share their opinion here anymore. Mickey and Wentis have an opinion, and everyone decided to rip them apart for God knows whatever reason. I mean, it is your vote. You can cast it however you like. If you think Mr. Leon is doing the work, then vote for him. I personally think that he's just picking up the pieces that came from Mr. Mays. Mr. Mays said a lot of groundwork, but he couldn't get anything through council. But that's my opinion. I'm not going to apologize to anyone for it neither. I think Mickey had yesterday gone through, oh God, we couldn't get a phone call in. We couldn't get 15 minutes of his time because people kept calling him to yell at him or to X, Y, and Z. It was rather sad and obscene. And Monday I woke up and I saw Rich Jones decide to have an issue with what was said in a chat app on Saturday from Mickey and Mr. Tony Wiggins. Once again, if you have an opinion, it better be the right opinion by everyone. Otherwise, you get dragged through the mud. But at this point, guys, I'm not going to be nice anymore. There's no more letting it slide. I think we've been too nice for too long, and too many people thought they could just step on us. I gave a warning, 3 weeks ago? People seem to have forgotten who 810 is, who we are, who I am, and the fact that I just don't give a goddamn. I mean, nothing anyone can do can affect my income. No one can really threaten me anymore. So Rich Jones goes on a tirade and says that Mickey's been paid off. That 810's been paid off to slander his name. It's kind of hard to slander the name of someone who can't even speak properly. And that's not a shot toward a speech impediment or this, that. But a man that's damn near 50 years old should know what a cease and desist is. Or a defamation defamation suit instead of deformation. That's just me. Instead, the man gets upset because we believe that he's not good for Flint nor the Third Ward. And I've tried to be diplomatic about this before, but he took offense. He's angry about Linto. So let's talk about that for a minute. He didn't have a damn problem with Linto Law Group when he was taking money from them to go collect signatures on Liddell Lewis. He didn't have a single fucking problem with them. He didn't have a problem with them when he was speaking with some of their associates outside City Hall. Instead, it's a problem when 810 receives a business deal from Linto to go to 810's 810 celebration. God, that's a fun one. And advertise their services. Okay. That's when it becomes a problem. No one else had a problem with them either when they were getting paid by the group. But the second that it falls outside or they've been denied money before, they've been denied money asking, oh, give me money to go do a recall on Sheldon Neely. Give me money to go do a recall on this, that, or the third. Then the second they do that, they become persona non grata. They become the devil incarnate. And anyone who works with them happens to be the salt of the earth, the worst person that could ever be. Weird. So Rich Jones decides to write a whole ass paragraph, which I was honestly impressed that Rich Jones could write a whole paragraph. I mean, granted, plenty of spelling mistakes and no fucking punctuation. I'm still trying to figure out how the hell you capitalized every third word, but I'm proud of the man. He got a paragraph out. And then myself and a friend of mine went to work. Because this is the type of backstabbing behavior that really sort of pisses me off. Someone who couldn't get the fuck off of the 810 platform, try to promote themselves. Mind you, we're not doing things for free anymore. We've gotten ourselves to the point that we can charge for advertising time. We've had several problems with others trying to do this in the past, but Rich was a particular note because he would come to the studio. He would call in, and every day it'd be, vote for me. I'm Rich Jones. And then all of a sudden, he hates this platform and everything it stands for. That is some user backstabber bitch behavior. And I want you to think just for a moment. If Rich does this over something as simple as saying we disagree with him, well, not even disagree. Because I fully support anyone who wants to run, whether I like you or not. It's your damned right. But I don't think he's right for the Third Ward. Now, just imagine when he gets on council, if someone happens to not vote with him. The drama, the chaos, the problems that'll come from that. We think there's enough problems with Liddell and her power tripping. Just imagine Rich Jones, every time he turns around, is going to feel offended and betrayed. Just imagine that for a second. He comes up with his shaky as fuck zero out the water resolution, which on principle I can agree with, but in practice he has no sort of way of getting it done, is what generally set me away from him. And then when everyone asks him how are we going to do it, when everyone asks him where's the money going to come from, he can't explain it, so they vote no. He's not just going to show his whole ass. He's going to get up and start whining and crying and trying to pick a fight with everyone up there. We already have enough problems with that. City council can run 8 fucking hours. We don't need Rich adding another 8 to it. See, the biggest problem with zeroing out the water is one, he wanted to try to use ARPA funds. Okay, I can understand that, but is that within the rules and standards and regulations of how you can use those funds? He doesn't know. He didn't read. Okay, so where would the money come from? When instead he could have done something far more profound with his little thoughts and lowered the city, put forth a resolution to lower the city's water bills and replace that revenue with something like playing with the business licenses and that scheduling fee. Larger businesses pay just a little bit more. Why? Because a multi-million-dollar business can pick up a couple hundred, maybe $1,000 a year, which would significantly lower people's water bills. Hell, people can't afford fucking groceries. So if you zero it out once, if the bill is still $250, guess what? It's still going to be behind. That is rotating door politics. It is dumb. Without some way of bringing down the prices overall, people are going to fall into the same trap that they're already fucking in. In the Clubhouse, which for those of you who have not participated, it is a, I don't want to say fun, but it is a multi-call app that Anna from 810 puts on once a week on Saturdays starting at 8 something. We listen to Tony Wiggins' music for about 30 minutes and then we get into some deep discussions. A few weeks prior, Rich Jones was in there and everyone was asking, well, what's your platform, buddy? We see you on 810. And these are folks from around the country, from around Flint. What's your platform? And he couldn't tell us. The man didn't know what he was running on. He just knew that he wanted to run, just like last time he ran for council, just like last time he ran for state rep. He gets one idea and he thinks that's all he can stand on. When he came out and finally was pushed hard enough, he said, no tax cuts for businesses. So you just want to doom the city to economic failure for the rest of the time then? I'm sorry, but Flint has enough problems without people getting decent jobs in there. The best thing to do would be to entice businesses into the city of Flint. The best way to do that is with tax incentives. And the city still doesn't lose money because while you take down 10% of their overall taxes, you're still collecting 90. And then since the city has an income tax, you're still collecting more money because more people are working and at decent hours and decent wages. My God. The man had to be corrected on his own platform by an entire chat room. I wake up today and he has another post. This time he actually had the balls to tag me though, so congratulations. At least he had the balls to tag me on this one because Monday when I woke up, he tried slipping it by like he can sit there and insult myself, insult my friends, insult Mickey, a man who's given me a chance to do this, insult Wintis, a woman who's shown me nothing but kindness and compassion over the past 2 years. He tried to slide that by under the radar. And then he wonders why I come at him the way I did. The man talks like he's either had a significant blow to the head or he's done major amounts of hardcore drugs in the past. He can't form a thought for more than 5 minutes without going off sideways. Perfect example of this. He was accused, this is a joke, people saying he can't put down a crack pipe. He goes, I ain't play with no rocks, but David had 5. Bruh, stay on a topic and we might take you more seriously. And then when it comes back to him reading or writing, how are you going to write up a resolution to help Flint with spelling and grammatical errors? You can't. How are you going to write up a grant I mean, granted, Flint hasn't written a decent grant in a hot minute, but if that practice was to come back up, how are you going to write it? You can't just have the 3 ladies that work in city council office do everything for you. You have to do some things on your own. It's been a long week. I don't think I've been that angry in a while. And while I was laughing and joking about it and making some of the most crass jokes I could at his expense, I was still livid. Imagine one day you wake up and someone who had been in your house constantly and sang your praises is now calling people around you something like a sellout. Calling Mickey a sellout of all fucking things. Mickey sat there and he buzzed his ass, literally, guys, Monday to Saturday. Anytime one of us calls, the man is there. I don't sound like a sellout to me. A sellout would say, hey, go fuck yourself. I got paid. Let's see. And then we've got this. To quote, I will never support anyone who was against this. Shame on wannabe Wendy for switching lanes, siding with the haters and users of Eric Mays. User of Eric Mays, but the man can't post anything or say anything without bringing up Eric's name. I'm sorry to tell you guys. I'm sorry to tell Rich in particular. Eric's dead. Let the man rest. He fought so hard for so long. Leave his name to good memories. Don't try using him like a cane to prop up your own failing campaigns. It is a shame and a travesty to me. Jessica, yes, I do. But I believe in the term that Rich was trying to use it to sell your morals or something else out for a quick paycheck is what he is trying to say. Rich is running around using words he can't understand, using words he fundamentally doesn't grasp, and using them incorrectly. And then the man can't even manage his own finances. Have we taken a look at this man's lifestyle? And I'm not downing anyone on lifestyle. Let's face it, hard times have hit us all. But I did a little bit of research into his home, and I'm not going to shit too heavily on that. But it's owned by the city. His was one of the homes, I suspect, or I've heard, that was taken in the when the real estate agent came through and bought up several homes for $1 million. To get on that list, though, you had to not pay your taxes. Okay. How are you going to try to run for city government when you can't keep up with your own finances, especially the legislative part of city government, the part that manages finances? How are you going to manage city money when you can't manage your own? City money is far wider, far larger, and has a far bigger impact. You have the water department, you have salaries for your police, for your firefighters, for your administrative staff at City Hall. Then you've got to pay the road workers. You got to pay to keep the lights on, literally, across the entire city. You've got so many places that money has to go. I can't trust someone who can't even afford to pay their own small taxes in that case, especially someone who, as far as I know, has never owned a car. Which, if he wants to walk, that's fine, but as often as he's calling others for a ride, that doesn't seem to be the case. The man doesn't know law, which you don't have to be a fucking lawyer to know some law. The man doesn't know finances. The man doesn't know policies or politics, and he's running for 3rd Ward. Chris, no, Mays was trying. Apparently, that house had belonged to his parents, but he let it fall into disrepair and fall behind on bills, including his taxes. If you look up on Genesee County land, Portal property, that house still belongs to City Hall. Hey, Meat Freak, it's nice to see you, buddy. Rich Jones clearly lacks ethics, integrity, and competence to ever hold any position or office. The man tries to exploit whatever he can for his own personal gain. That's the problem. Because I've seen Rich jump from one topic to another, jump from one side to another, whether he wants to admit it or not. He wants to sit there and use Eric Mays like a cane, and yet last several months of Eric Mays' life, while I was at city council having smokes with Eric Mays, Rich Jones would stand outside and they'd ignore each other. This is also the same man that when Eric was first elected stood up on the podium and called Eric a crackhead. But he wants to use him like a cane. That's some backstabbing fucking behavior. And then to go to our set, sit on our couches, call Wintiss's little sister, and then call her something. What was that? Let me scroll back down through his 30 years of fucking posts here that he can post in a weekend because he has no time or no life. Let's see. Oop. He's locking his content now. That's cute. Wannabe Wendy. In the past, he's called her messy, this, that, and the third. But he's able to sit down in our studio and try to promote himself. We've told people before, if you're going to come onto our platform without an invitation and try to use our platform to further your own political agenda, your own political campaign, there is a payment that needs to happen. And this isn't some under the table greasy grizzly. No. It's a political advertisement. If you want to come on one of our shows to advertise, to try to campaign, okay, we'll work it out. But it ain't no freebies. Tara, yes, Rich Jones is running for 3rd Ward. But I want to compare and contrast him against his main opponent. The one that I've personally backed, the one that I personally like, Ms. Bev Biggs. And she has her own flaws and faults, as every other person does. I'm not saying she is an angel. No one is. I'm not saying she's perfect for the position. No one is. Period. End of story. Last week I said the biggest flaw I have with her is she needs to get up to that podium, find a resolution that she doesn't like that has been passed or is up for vote that night, and speak on that specifically, what she does or does not support about it, and then go further than most of city council because their object permanence is that of a toad, and explain to them that after it gets passed, it will have these ramifications X, Y, and Z. I believe that would be the best way for her to get up there. I still agree with what I had said. But Ms. Bev Biggs is also someone of dedication. This woman has put in 4 recalls. This woman has gone door to door for months to do that with her husband with minimal support. Someone that we know can take a job from beginning to end. Someone that we know can listen as well as speak. Not just hear. She listens. That's where I'm at. I like Ms. Bev. She's also a business owner. So not only can she manage her own finances, she can manage a third party finances and keep that going. And then use that to sustain herself. Not to mention, She doesn't get messy all over Facebook. All she does goes to council. She'll tell some jokes, but then she will go out and do what she needs to do. But a man who decides to lean on Dan Kildee to try to prop up his sorry ideas. I'm sorry, Dan, but Dan Kildee is the one that came up with the planned shrinkage for Flint and the reduction of services on the north side, which he's also running for. Or other CFOs or names running around who I highly doubt he spoke to for more than 5 seconds. Rich Jones is less than a joke. He's not even the punchline. And at this point, I feel that he's just there to steal votes. Not steal. Stealing's the wrong word. To split votes. To keep possibly Murphy in. And now I know some of you are going to light me up for this, but I personally believe that if it were only to come down to Murphy and Jones, I'd keep Murphy in. At least I know where Murphy's going to stand 90% of the time, whereas Rich Jones, where did I just see that? I'm not the only one that sees it. Always looked at Rich Jones as an opportunist. He would jump on anybody's bandwagon. I'd rather know where the votes are going to fall. I know that Quincy's going to vote against us 99% of the time. Whereas when it comes down to an important vote, if Rich got some random stray thought in his head that someone slighted him in one way or another, he'll vote against them out of spite, and we don't even know where. We don't know what resolution it'd be. It could be the most important one that Flint's seen in a decade. And Rich will let that slide. Rich will let it die just because of a perceived personal slight. From Mark. Biggs Levy successfully leading 2 and maybe 3 recalls is a monumental task. Jones and Dumas jumping on the primary against her shows bad character. Not just that. Not just her going out and getting recalls, but her organizing the efforts. She has gone forth, organized people when people said that they could not come or would not come. She still went out and did it herself instead of letting that fall through. She has not just done that, she's also linked up with Mr. Jebediah Brown and had him come through Flint to help her with these recalls. She has leveraged help. She has leveraged any advantage she could to get those recalls done. And it isn't just that she has a personal distaste or agenda, as far as I know, but she sees the way that Flint has gone with this council, and she has decided it is not for Flint, so she has taken it upon herself. That's why I believe she is the best candidate. And whether she likes that or not, well, I'm still behind her. And whether Rich is angry at me right now for taking 38 people live and explaining to them why he is one of the worst people I've seen run for any sort of political position, I can give a fuck less. All right, Chris, because you're right. I do have to give a little bit of equal opportunity. Equal opportunity here to let people know why Dumas is just as bad. So when everyone was complaining that the Detroit water was so damned expensive, Dumas was the one that went up there and public speaking and tried to say we should switch to the Flint water. He was in vast support of it. And then once it became known that the Flint water was basically poison, burning people's skin off, or giving children legionnaires or cancer or X, Y, and Z. Then we have Dumas jump and say, "Oh no, we should have never done that." Except I don't know if Grandpa knows this or not, but video's forever, and so is the internet. It's very hard to delete something off the internet. Even if you do successfully do that, there are websites that track and takes I'd call it screenshots. That's the best way to call it, or snapshots of most pages once a day. Go on the Wayback Machine. It's great. So he was sitting there trying to be upfront and take the charge that Flint water is bad. Well, you endorsed making it bad, you moron. Not only that, but he's sat there and he's attacked people who are trying to do the best they could by the city to make himself look good. He's also interfered with contracts citywide, either from the city, from the school board, or from other government contracts, trying to manipulate them so someone that he works with can get the contract and he can make himself a little bit of money. He's just as dirty as everyone else. He's just doing it in the old school way. So Rich Jones and AC Dumas are only there to split the vote and keep the people that we like out. Tara, you know what? Let me jump in on that because I'm conflicted as hell on this. Okay. Ms. Rose Morrow, I believe it is an amazing person. I think that not only has she dedicated most of her life to service as a police officer, and she at least presents as someone with empathy, compassion, and a professional attitude. And I fully think she'd be amazing on Flint City Council. I also think that since she lost in the primary, that splitting the vote now will keep Leon in his seat. And while I love Ms. Rose, I think she is one of the best people I've ever given my phone number to. I don't know how I feel. I've always said that if you care about your city, if you care about your state, if you care about anything around you, that you should run. And at no point do I ever want to be the type of hypocrite that says, except now. So if she wants to be a write-in candidate, then go ahead. But there's the but. At this time, I think Miss Carroll, because if nothing else, because she just has her name on the ballot printed, has a better chance. I just think that's the case. And if Rose were to run again in 26, because they're just running to take over that seat until the term ends, which I believe all city council end is in 26, because fuck it, let's do something stupid and throw the entire city council in disarray. But that's neither here nor there. Then I'll support her in 26. But as for right now, my whatever weight and support I have is going behind Ms. Carroll. Once again, I love Ms. Rose and she has my support in 26, but what we need is to consolidate. That's just my personal feeling. And then going with Mark here. Do I think Rose is ignorant about politics or did Neely reach out to her? I believe neither. This is a woman that served 20 plus years on a police force. Politics, it literally drove her job. Whether someone on council disliked the police force and dropped their budget or laws would change all the time, politics was a huge part of her job. And I don't think Neely paid her. I think what really got her was the attacks on her campaign headquarters, which is in effect an attack on her as a candidate. I think it really set her back because most of her literature, her signage, everything like that was inside the office. It caught fire because someone went ahead and decided to play Firebug for the day. Actually, they did it twice. So she took that personally. And I believe she rightfully feels that she was screwed. That's my honest thought. I think she's not ready to be done fighting. And I can understand and empathize with that entirely. I think she's keeping up the fight because she's angry. And I empathize. I understand. And I'm not going to sit there and say she needs to drop out or she's been paid off or this, that. I'm just going to put my weight behind Miss Carol. And then 26, like I said, hell, I'll even donate to Ms. Rosemorrow's campaign in 26. But right now, splitting the vote is extremely dangerous. Like Mama O'Quill said, and always leave it to Mama O'Quill to say the wisest thing in the room. Finding one person that is the best for the job, you'll never find perfect, to sit down and put as much of our support behind them as possible. If you live in Flint, if you live in their ward, your vote is the most important and valuable thing that they can ask for. If you don't live in their ward, then helping out, volunteering, walking around, knocking doors, giving literature, asking people if they want signs. If you live outside of Flint, but you're in Flint circles such as Reboot, sharing their message. That is the biggest thing that any of us can do. And we have to look at absolutely everyone. When it comes to the first ward, for me, it's Carol. When it comes to the third ward, for me, it's Ms. Bev. We'll see what happens with the second ward, but we've got until May to figure that out and to organize ourselves. I think that's what we need to do. Rich Jones is nothing but a distraction and a joke. If you happen to talk with anyone in that ward, go ahead and tell them about Rich. Show him exactly who he is. His Facebook is open. Do you really want this as your council person? Show him about Dumas. And go through YouTube. AC Dumas speaks on Flint water. Do you really want this man as your council person? And once again, Mr. Ronalds got it right on the head. Because if you take a look at the primary, the amount of votes that were not for Leon shows that people were not happy with him. At least a larger portion of people than the votes he actually pulled. So everyone that was in the primary, if you want Leon out, if you want better for your ward than what Leon can do, I'd say go behind Miss Carol. Oh, Cameron, Rich Jones decided to try to insult 810. So, and then personally insult me and a few other people. And I decided to, the first 30 minutes of this broadcast, to let everyone know exactly who he is and why he is a failure. This right here. Prepping candidates for the second ward and vetting them is imperative. Honestly, I think we need to find out who of worth lives in the second ward, who has interest. That has to be another thing. You can't just have your name on the ballot and not have interest. And then starting to push them out and out. Get their name well known within the second ward, get them to do events in the second ward, but more importantly, have them take a page from Ms. Rosemorrow's book and start doing things in the second ward to help the second ward. And the biggest thing is it cannot be just for votes. Hey, if you've been planning this for a while, now's the time to do it. Has to be someone that's always been active and known. And then because of what ward it is and who's currently in that seat, we have to start early knocking on doors. We have to start early handing out literature. We have to start early. Well, there is a specific time frame, but from when you can, you do it. Until then, there's other ways to hand out literature, such as this person is going to run this event to help you with X, Y, or Z, or to find you resources for A, B, and C. It doesn't have to say running for second ward. It just has to say your neighbor. And if they need money, they need to start crowdsourcing for it now. They need to start getting their name out there today. They need to get it in a good light. They need to wash their name if there's been any problems. They need to start getting people behind them, organizing them. Okay, you're my walk team, you're my talk team. And they need to get on that literally yesterday. If, like I said, I just woke up today, but that's if somehow the county and the city don't disqualify something like 400 votes or 400 signatures on that recall list. They've done it before. Christopher Sims. It isn't the fact that it was a hater. It's the fact that it was someone that tried to use A10. Look, when it comes to this platform, it's like fire, okay? You can come on, we'll be nice, we'll keep you warm, we'll keep you protected, but the second you disrespect us, we'll fucking burn you to the ground. That's the biggest deal. That is where I'm at right now. And that goes for literally anyone. Oh, yeah, Ralph. 100%. He didn't just try to be cool. He called in every day. He called in every day. He used to come to the set. He used to walk up to us at city council. And this was after we've had a prolonged period of fighting before that. This is why I don't forgive and I don't forget. Because at the end of the day, if they've done this to me once, they'll do it again. I'm not willing to play these games anymore. If you're on my bad side, it's going to be known. If you've crossed this line before, you'll do it again. I honestly don't care what my partners say or do. If it's someone that's done this to us before and they come on, I'm still going to talk shit about them. Yeah, Ralph, and I can't necessarily disclose what was said. Let's just say it happened to involve Linto again. And there we go, Chris. We gave this man 10 minutes of phone time when everyone else gets 3. Gave him basically preferential treatment, and he decides to call Wentus and Mickey sellouts. Jessica, there are times where I think that you are a soulmate of sorts, a kindred spirit. That I'm being kind because he used to hold us hostage with incoherent ramblings that were basically reruns of everything he said from the fringes of politics for years. Deborah and Overman Luna. That is also true. So when I was looking up Rich Jones' address and where he lives, which, to be fair, I'm not going to put that out there. Anyone who knows, knows. Anyone who needs to know, knows. But, and checking to see who owns it, which, once again, is the city. The man can't even own his own home. I also saw that he was in the second ward, but that's old boundaries. New boundaries, who knows? Who the fuck knows? Not even the city knows. Donald. He really pissed me off, honestly, from day one when he started calling into the bump like nobody remembered all the shit he did. That. And while I was trying to be a better person before, and okay, yeah, Rich, I'll help you. I walked up to him at city council and tried laying out a plan for him. And then he did this. Not to mention, he had been going on about 810 for a hot minute in Lento, but the day that Mr. Jeb put on his candidate form that 810 was a co-host to, well, Mickey and Wentus were co-host to, Rich called me that day, probably asking how he can do X, Y, and Z. Too bad for him. I was too busy working on a lawnmower, because when it comes to taking a call from Rich Jones and listening to that crying ass voice of his, or overheating myself with an arc welder, I'm going to use the arc welder. I'd rather put myself through the physical torture of heat stroke than listen to his voice, to be completely honest with you. Yeah. When Mays passed, he tried using that to get onto 810, because while none of us were particularly close with Mays, hell, I barely started to develop a relationship with him, when he finally stopped calling me that white Republican, and he and I are actually able to go outside and start smoking and make jokes at just about anything. That had only been about 4 months. He wasn't extremely close with me, but we were all rather saddened by it. I mean, one of the only fighters in Flint fighting for the people, and seeing that bulwark fall down around us, it put us in a somewhat vulnerable position. And Rich used that to his advantage to come on. It's rather sad. Let's see what the hell is going on here. Oof. I'll have to check that after the show. It comes down to this, guys. Chris, that's fair. That is fair. I mean, me and Judy really never were close. But I did marry her niece. I can completely understand that. And until I came out and proved that I wasn't some agent provocateur or someone that was going to try to take advantage, I ran once. I'm done with it. That was my entire foray into into the political field. Now I'm just here doing commentary on the side for a city that, my wife's family is from and still has parts living in, and I'd like to see it do better. I can understand Mr. Mays saying, well, let's see how this guy works. Anywho, yeah, it's been a week, guys. Seeing Mickey and Wentus go through what they've gone through this entire week, and then me battling back and forth with Rich Jones for 2 days, then I decided, you know what? I can just give him my Friday. I can give him my hour on Friday and let as many people as see my videos, 200 or 300 of you, sometimes more if I've got a big explosive topic, and let that just tell everyone exactly who he is. I'm sorry. He's the type of dude who, from out of nowhere, this guy, how do I put it? He's willing to jump from one bandwagon to the next, whatever puts him forward one step further on his own personal agendas. He's willing to jump a vote or bury friends or destroy the bridge to one of the most powerful tools he had. Because if he had been able to sit down and learn, if he had been able to sit down and take honest criticism, and instead of getting angry, ask, how can I improve? There could have very well been a way that, not this time, because there's way too much to learn and improve on for 2024, but maybe 2026, he could have had some help. But he's the type of dude who decides that anyone who disagrees with him must be personally attacking him, and now I am. I'm personally attacking this man because on a political level, he's dumber than a fucking rock. On a personal level, he's lower than a fucking snake. He's lower than earthworm shit. Someone was able to get in his head and say, oh, well, 810 took money from Lento and Lento's bad. Mind you, once again, like I said earlier, he took money from Lento for a recall effort. And that was after the whole scandal with Lento came out, was publicized. He was taking money. So it's okay for him, but not everyone else. He's a fucking hypocrite. It has been a really fucking long week. Not even going in toward the other people who have done the exact same thing, who have gone around behind the scenes saying that they run 810. I'm sorry, unless it's Mickey Jordan, no one runs 810. Oh, no, Chris, he just went all over town, including to the 9th ward on the recall. And then he was promising absolutely everyone that it'll work. And I think he had something close to like 120, 130 signatures discounted. And he only got the bare minimum of signatures that they ask for before discount. Ms. Beverly Barnes, you are not the only one. Yeah, I think it was something like they needed 400 and change votes, maybe 600. So he got that 600, 400 and change to the letter, and they discounted like a third of them. Now imagine that sort of inaccurate, imprecise governance, that lack of attention of detail coming straight up for your neighborhood and your taxes, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Jones isn't just bad for city council, he's bad for Flint in general. He's willing to rip people apart. He's willing to attack people just because he doesn't agree with them. He is probably one of the most disgusting human beings I've ever met. Let's see. I don't know. I mean, this is a man who says he respects women, but kept on calling Wintus a hoe. And there were times I really wanted to lay hands on the man. But I didn't want to discredit our name here. While shit talking is one thing, touching someone or laying hands on them is another. But man, it was a fucking struggle calling my friend a hoe. Calling Mickey several things that I can't say at my skin tone. And then constantly running around calling me the redneck and the hillbilly. Well, hooey, motherfucker, at least I can read. I tell you what, at least I know what punctuation is. I know what them periods and them commas are. And let's not forget about them exclamation marks. Oh, and the quotations. I also know that when I'm a writing a paragraph, I don't have to capitalize the first word of, or every word is just the first word of the sentence. I tell you what, while I might be an ignorant, inbred redneck, I still somehow have more education than you. You see, Rich Jones is the exact example of what Michael Clack was trying to fix on the school board. Michael Clack was doing his goddamnedest to make sure that we don't end up with a whole new generation of these geek monsters running around. It's really sad that we had a strong candidate such as Michael Clack, and we let him down. Yep. I'm not on his intellect section, Jessica. I remember that. I'm not on his intellect section. That's okay, though. But I think this is about the point where I'm going to go ahead and walk away before I decide to get even. I decide to actually start projecting my voice a little bit. Bev, you weren't the only one. I've been keeping quiet about the first name there for a while. I'll continue to do so because, well, there's no loyalty there, obviously, from his part to ours. He and I are on a lawsuit together. And if I start trashing him in public, it could hurt that lawsuit, which, while I'm not asking for money and I've made sure that we can't ask for money on this lawsuit. I believe that if we start going at each other too hard, it could lose us that lawsuit, and that losing that lawsuit hurts Flint. After that, gloves come the fuck off. But, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned tonight. We've got Carol. We've got Sister Circle. We've got Club Rich. Tomorrow we got Talking with Tanya. And then I believe after a long awaited wait, Poll Talk should be back this week as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a great day. Go out, be productive, and don't strain your intellect. And keep hydrated. Later.